joining me today. I'm so glad that you are here and that you can share insight in the story from Idaho, all that's happening with youth apprenticeship. As the Vice President of Youth Apprenticeship for the Idaho Business for Education Group, yeah, you guys have really made a difference in the state for both your employers and for young people. So we really want to just hear your story. And so I guess what I'm going to do is start off is, what's the mission of the Idaho Business for Education Group, and why did they put such a strong focus on youth apprenticeship?
Sure, great questions. Idaho Business for Education really exists to be the business voice to support education throughout the state of Idaho. When we say education, we're talking about public education. We start pre-K and we carry that through to grade 16. So public education is what our purpose and hope is. We believe it's the vehicle that changes the outcomes for students, and we believe they're our future. So when we talk about what we do as a group, we create environments where our students have opportunities and pathways for whatever is next for them in their future. We hope that they seek education and business opportunities and growth opportunities that allow them to care for their families to thrive, and that encourage them to stay here in Idaho. So we have over 250 businesses that join together that are focused on making sure that our students can make that great transition from high school into whatever is next for them after that.
That's good. The forethought that the IBE put into this to really focus on youth apprenticeship really, I think, makes such a difference on what you've all been able to do and to what Idaho's been able to do. So as you begin to move into that, and of course you represent business, but how did you engage employers? And as you engage them, what kind of support does IBE offer to all these employers that keeps them in the program?
Great. So our team kind of does two things. One of them really is working with employers. And although we do work with the employers that are members of Idaho Business for Education, we'll work with any employer who believes they want to invest in youth, who believes that they have a need in their workforce and has a hope and a dream of developing that workforce. So when we initially engage with our employer, we start with whatever their openings are. What are those things that are missing in their workforce? What positions do they consistently have to fill or fill again? What positions can they not fill? And that's where we start the conversation. We walk with them through the development of a registered apprenticeship program, a federally registered apprenticeship program. And then if they would like us to, we work with them to recruit from our high schools and other places where we might find out-of-school youth. So we're trying to connect what their needs are in the workforce with the needs and hopes and dreams of students, particularly for our case, that 16 to 24-year-old. That really is the sweet spot for Idaho Business for Education. It's where we connect our workforce with our schools, those two groups that we are focused on. And so it seemed like a really natural place for IBE to be involved in.
And so I know that businesses a lot of times have concern about the legal issues, the insurance issues, all of that. Are you able to address those that makes them more comfortable in dealing with youth?
Yeah, so we have a lot of experience with school to registered apprenticeship programs, with STRAP programs, which in many cases eliminates or at least mitigates the risks that a business might have. There are a few cases where that business, their insurance company, just really says, hey, you can't do anything unless they're 18. But in many cases, we have been able to walk those employers through what's legal, what's possible. And by signing a STRAP agreement, we've been able to connect them with 16 and 17-year-olds who are currently enrolled in high school.
That's awesome, because that's always a large barrier there. So you really help them work through that. So if we look at the other side in terms of the youth, how do you encourage the youth? How do you recruit them, reach out to them to get them to enroll in an apprenticeship program?
So our regional representatives spend a lot of time in schools connecting with counselors, but also doing career fairs and spending time in classrooms. We present across the state. We probably engage between 500 and 600 people every month in some type of conversation related to youth apprenticeship. Many of those are the youth themselves in places that we would find them. So we talk about the opportunities that are there. Honestly, our best pathway is to start with an employer who has needs, and then we go find youth that might be able to fit into those needs. But there are times when we meet youth, 16 to 24-year-olds who have a hope and a dream about being a welder, or they would really love to be in the finance field, or they would like to be a teacher, for example, and would like to understand what opportunities there would be in a teacher aide apprenticeship or something like that. So we can start there, often do, based on those areas of interest, but it's kind of bringing the two together. You have to have the employer before you have a place for the apprentice to be employed.
And that's good. And you guys do a good job of that. Having talked to some of your apprentices there, you do a great job of doing that. So if I know you haven't been doing this that long, maybe 2 years, so but in general, could you step back and say what value youth apprenticeship has brought to the Idaho business community? What has been the result of the efforts that IBE has put into this?
Well, there are 425 youth who are gainfully employed in some type of pathway, and which impacts the talent pipeline for a variety of businesses. So we have either participated in or developed over 100 registered apprenticeship programs, which is significant for each of those individual employers. It's significant for the 425 students, apprentices that actually now are earning while they're learning. We've had over 100 of them graduate their pathways in the last 24 months. So 25% of them now have this national certificate that outlines, this is what I know and can be able to do. Here's how I've practiced it. Many of them are staying with their employers or in the field in which they have completed their apprenticeship.
That is awesome. Those figures are really impressive. You guys have done a phenomenal job. So, one simple one, not less questions for you. Do you have any advice for, especially at the state level, who are thinking of really ratcheting up their youth apprenticeship program, of what they can do to move down and take that journey?
Well, I think one of the areas that we've been able to be really successful is that we're highly connected in the business community. And as I've said before, you have to have an employer in order to have a rep. So having a voice in the business community, a trusted voice who can have those conversations, who can grow understanding of what apprenticeship is not, and who can begin to tell the story of why it's important to be a co-creator of your own talent pipeline, taking advantage of the fact that there is a tried and proven pathway that leads to stronger retention, more satisfaction in your workforce, lots of research that talks about increased safety, all of those types of things. So our connection to the business community, the place where we could start telling the story, 250 members, and then from there, those members introducing us to their colleagues, their friends, their other businesses in their area so that that story grows.
Yeah. And as a continuation of that, you work closely with the Idaho Workforce Development Council, correct? So having the workforce system engaged also makes a difference.
For sure. Our grant actually that we're participating in, we're subrecipients, the Workforce Development is the recipient. IBE and the Workforce Development Council work together to write the grant. And then we are administering the grant here. So yes, they're essential partners, and the conversation around youth apprenticeship, what workforce development is doing, what the governor's office is doing through creating opportunities through our new launch scholarship, all of those things together, working together is really important in our system here in Idaho.
You guys are awesome. If somebody wants to find out more about IBE and all that you do, where's the best place for them to go?
So our website is idahobe.org, And they are welcome to go there. They're welcome to connect from that page to any one of our regional development officers. You can find us through the Workforce Development page. You can also find us through our partners at Idaho Department of Labor.
Great. Paula, thank you so much. This has been really informative, interesting, and Idaho and IBE is to be congratulated on what you're doing to not just educate youth, but to help fill the workforce needs in the state of Idaho. So kudos to you all, and I'm really impressed with what you do. So thank you for sharing your story with us. I really
Thanks for allowing us that opportunity.